Oh, okay. Wow. This is incredible. I apologize for coming in late. So many things happened along the way. I'm from the north, Micronesia, and my boat, the sail did not work. But I'm really happy to be here, and I'd like to say, Yahweh. Good afternoon to everyone. It's an honor and privilege for me to be back here in Hiroshima to joining you at this very important annual international World Conference. An opportunity to pay our respect to Ibabushas, those who have passed on and those still with us today. A time to come together to renew our strengths as we continue to carry out our commitments and take bold steps to make this world a safe and peaceful place to live for all mankind and for our children and generations to come. My name is Abacca Anjain Maddison. I'm a former senator for representing people of Rongelap in the Marshall Islands. And I represent especially the women of Rongelap who are very brave and have been our leaders in our community. The Marshallese people and government have made great achievement this year in and around our nuclear legacy, in which I'm happy to share with you. Since the RMI has become a member of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, for the second time, our efforts in meeting our commitments have been taken by the public. Late last year, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights of Internally Displaced Persons visited the Marshall Islands. Her report pinpointed challenges and strongly recommended that the United States is to acknowledge the sufferings and injustice inflicted on the displaced populations caused by the U.S. nuclear testing in the Marshall Islands, which include people of Rongelap, Bikini, and Anjain, and provide necessary compensations. Also to provide full payment to settle all unpaid nuclear claims at the Nuclear Claims Tribunal, including environmental remediations of the nuclear affected atolls. The New Canberra Free Association between RMI and the United States has $800 million to repurpose fund. Is a repurpose fund that will be made available to help in some ways. The government has also started to establish a committee to relook into the change circumstance petition that U.S. Congress denied a couple of times. This year, the RMI is due to submit its Universal Periodic Report, the UPR, progresses that were made in the last 5 years. The report includes progresses on, 1, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, as a nuclear, so RMI as a nuclear affected state. RMI has been a strong voice for the advancement of nuclear disarmament and demonstrated sustained leadership in integrating humanitarian principles into international dialogue. On the occasion of the 37th Memorial Anniversary of Nuclear Victims Remembrance Day on March 1st this year, the RMI government signed the South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone Treaty, marking a historic step in strengthening RMI's commitment to a nuclear-free Pacific. 2. The Treaty on Prohibition on Nuclear Weapons, the TPNW. The RMI was an active participant in the UN negotiating process on the Treaty of the Prohibition of the Nuclear Weapons and joined other nations in voting its adoption. As a country that has experienced firsthand the devastation of nuclear weapons, RMI supports the underlying premise of the treaty and continues to call for the abolition of nuclear weapons from Earth. This requires partnerships and commitment, especially from nuclear weapon states. RMI is carefully studying the implications of the treaty and is still considering the victim assistance and environmental remediation provisions to assess their compatibility with the national position that the government of the United States of America retains primary responsibility for victims' existence and environmental remediation for the nuclear weapon states conducted on RMI territory. RMI would welcome technical assistance from all relevant stakeholders to confirm this interpretation of Article 6 and advance its assessment of the treaty. Climate change is equally an important issue to the Marshall Islands, considering that it's one of the most vulnerable countries in the world. It cannot be separated from our nuclear legacy, since they overlap in terms of the danger poses to the environment, health, livelihood of the Marshallese. Last month, the frontliner countries in the Pacific, including Marshall Islands, won their case at the International Court of Justice after filing their position on climate change. The historic win by the Pacific Island countries could trigger global climate lawsuits, compensation claims, and force major polluters to act. In April this year, marked the 40th anniversary of people of Roma living in displacement. The Greenpeace jointly participated on Mejato Island, where the community has evacuated to. It was a time of sadness, but more importantly, a time to celebrate life. In our humble ways, we celebrate how we come together as a community and a family over the years, regardless of the many challenges facing us. We were able to share our nuclear legacies and histories to our younger generations, teaching them the ways of our culture so that we can preserve, as is the key to our survival, and also to remain a humble person as God created in order to face all the challenges that comes our way. And as we strive to seek further justice for the many lives of our families who have affected from radiation, nuclear fallout, and make us to leave our beloved island, our homeland, our sacred land, to live in exile on Mejatto, Guajalan. We were happy to reconnect with our friends, the Great Peace, but in all this time, we didn't forget our friends in Japan, the Ibakushas and Gensigyo, for all the assistance and support that they have provided so far. Every time, they always open their arms to show the loving kindness person they are to help the community and people of Roma. At this trip, at the anniversary, we were able to have Mrs. Kathy Joel, who was one of the ladies that was affected by a nuclear fallout. She was a survivor. I mean, some of you know her because you've met her. This was her last trip, 3 days after the visit, Mejatto. She passed away. It was sad news, but it was a happy ending because she spent for 1 week, her last week on Mejatto, she spent with the children talking about her experiences and sharing the knowledge of how she was treated, mistreated by the U.S., how she was not a person, but she was a subject in the U.S. project called Project 4.1, meaning that she was used as a guinea pig. And not only that, to encourage the young people to stand strong and be humble and not to forget what happened. Forgive, but don't forget. Always remember who they are, what they have become because of the nuclear testings of the United States. Today, there are only 9 survivors from the Bravo shot that was detonated on March 1st, 1954. There are 5 males and 4 females. This is the last generation in our community and in the whole Marshall Islands, and they are very precious and dear to us. It is important to share the knowledge and experience with the younger generations, and that is why one of the main reason we want to hold Nuclear Victims Remembrance Day on Ibai, Kwajalein Atoll for the first time. And we have gotten a blessing from the Paramount Chief to hold this event on his land, and he wishes also to engage and be involved in a project of opening or working on a mini museum to be developed and created and installed on Ibai Island. In conclusion, I wish to extend the people of Ronglap's gratitude once more to Kensigyo and Japanese Bakusha for your ending support. No words can be said enough to mount up to the kindness and caring that you've given over the years. And last but not least, you're welcome to join us on March 1st on Ibai. Kumutaba, arigato.